Hello and good evening and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth. We are so happy you guys are taking the opportunity out to come and join us and be a part of our wonderful broadcast this evening. Taking time from on the East Coast, Central Time and Pacific Time. Hopefully you guys had an awesome day today, and we're looking forward to having a positive and wonderful conversation with you guys tonight. I think it's going to be really powerful as we pick up from part 2 of what we were last week on Real Talk with our wonderful guest, Miss Tara Cole. So we are really looking forward to that tonight and getting a few more questions in with her because she only has a limited time to spend with us tonight. So we're going to run through it real quick, and then all of us will talk about what we talked about. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. And bring us our points back to light in that regard. Want to welcome our Facebook family, our YouTube family, our Instagram family, our TikTok family, and whatever families we got going on out there, our extra families. We do want to make sure that you guys are liking and sharing us. Please go to each one of those pages and make sure that you do like us and share us. Get the word out there because we are changing the part of the world that we need to. All right. We want you to make sure that you find your authenticity and stepping into every day that you are knowing that you are enough. And what's your slogan, Parnell? It's not my what?
It's not my job to make you comfortable with my life.
Absolutely. Amen. You know what I'm saying? So that's our 3-part slogan for this show. Okay. You know that you're authentic. You move into your authenticity, and it's not your job, not my job. What is it?
It's not my job to make you comfortable with my life.
Yes, right. It's not my job to make you comfortable with my life. So that's a well-rounded package right there. You know what? To make a movement every day.
Let me ask you a question, Harold. Did you patent that slogan, "You are enough, I am enough"? You never did.
I did.
Okay. Because I was hearing that all around Instagram. I'm like, I hope Harold took that and made and because everybody's using that right now. I remember the first time we went to the what was it, the event that you held, the conference in Atlanta. I said that is a great slogan. Then after that, I've been hearing that constantly around, and I said I hope that Harold took that and But on that though, it is what it is. It's a great slogan.
Absolutely.
At this point,
I'm glad more people are using it.
Even the word authenticity, is moving at a very rapid pace now because people weren't talking about being authentic, at some point, and now they're waking up to really like, is that
idea that the signal gets really.
Parnell on the road.
Oh yeah.
Road trip.
But as I was saying about authenticity, people were not, really using that as a part of their normal life at one point. So it's good to see that those words have become the buzzword, around life at that point. Anyway, gentlemen, real quick, how are you guys? You doing, Harold? How you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm getting ready for my birthday. My birthday is Thursday.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I'll be in Miami. Miami.
Oh, okay. The Gemini flow in Miami. Miami better look out. You been sliding in some DMs?
I have. Lots of
them. Okay. All right. I hear you. My brother Parnell, how you doing? I know you're on the road down to the hot part of California.
Yeah.
We can't.
We can't
hear you, brother.
We got a bad connection. He's talking. He's saying a lot.
We saying a lot, but we can't hear you, Parnell. Yeah, is your mic on? Okay. All right. We'll work. We'll let you figure it out. All right, guys. But anyway, so we are ready for this wonderful show tonight. Okay. Yes. We're gonna bring Miss Tara Cole in after this commercial break, and we're gonna finish this talk about the LGBTQ plus and AZ all down the road, all the alphabets. Right. Okay. All right. We'll be right back after this commercial, guys. All right, and we're back. All right, thank you guys once again for tuning in to The Truth Behind the Truth.
Yes.
As always, want to welcome everybody to the exciting show that we're having tonight. Want to remind you next week, as we are continuing in our Writers Page series, all right, we're having our wonderful one, Bishop Jim Swilly will be back with us next week, expounding on this book. So that's going to be a great show. And then we're going to look forward to wrapping this series up with this special guest, one that you guys see every week, our own author in the camp. You know, when we wrap it up, you know, who's that guy? Y'all know who I'm talking about. You know, you know, he got a few books out there somewhere. You know, he writes a few things. I mean, I don't know who we're talking about anyway. You know? So we'll wrap the series up with our own Harold LaFoe in about 3 weeks. Yes, so we're excited to have him expounding about juicing and I Am Enough and all that he's got going on besides being an intricate part of the Truth Behind the Truth and its mission. You know?
Yes.
All right. Without further ado, Parnell, you all set now? We got you live. Can you hear Parnell?
I think he can hear me.
So now?
No, yeah,
Great.
Just want to make sure you can hear us.
Oh,
All right. Without further ado, let's bring her on. All right, our wonderful guest taking time out of her schedule again once tonight to share with us in part 2 of this wonderful series. I'm talking about Real Talk about the LGBTQ, where she has just done such a very powerful book about that. All right, guys, let's welcome to the show once again our friend of the show, Miss Award-winning Tara Coates. Yay! Yes. We are excited to have you back, my dear.
I'm
so
happy.
Excited.
Thank you. It's still Pride Month, and so we talk about this all year round, 365 days of the year. But absolutely, it's Pride Month, and I know you want to do some special programming. So, although I can't be here for the whole show, I'm happy to be here for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate you taking time out to wrap up this conversation that we were having with you, you know, about your wonderful and powerful book. And let me just want to expound to the audience real quick. And if you don't mind me paraphrasing it this way, for our audience that's tuning in tonight, we requested and Tara elaborated a little bit more. Get this book. Amazon, get this book. I'm gonna tell you, get this book. Get this book. Real Talk. She'll talk about it in a minute. Thank you, Tara. Get this book, okay? It starts the conversation that you need to have with your family members of bridging that gap between the heterosexual and the gay community, okay? It really does. I mean, it answers all the questions that you may have, all right? So I want y'all to get the book. All right, we can't tell you about the book all on the show. You got to get the book and read the book. All right, support my sister, please.
There's a lot to read, but fortunately, you can just go in, and I know some of you guys did it too. You told me that you went into the index and you're like, oh, looking at the questions, all the different questions are listed in the chapter, so it's easy. You don't have to start from the beginning if you don't want to. You can go in and pick your topic and bounce around and get the information that you want to get, and then eventually consume the whole book. But start where you want to start.
Thank you.
And then as you get more information, maybe you'll get curious about reading everything.
Absolutely. You know, and that's a very powerful point you put about that, because sometimes it takes people a little bit to digest things, because when you get hit with facts, and sometimes it just knocks you off your feet, you know, at the end, especially when you're in one frame of mind of thinking, you know what I mean? So it may, for some of y'all, it may knock you off the truth that she's, you know, the research she's done, it will knock some of you off your feet, okay, at the end of the day. So take that, digest it, have discussions about it, and then move forward and digest the rest of the book, you know? I mean, it really. So I'm not going to run my mouth too long. So I know you had a couple questions, and then Tara wants to expand about her workshops and things like that she's got going on. So we'll take a few questions, maybe about 10 minutes. Tara, is that good for some questions and things?
Sure. And I wanted, before we go into that, to expound on something you said about facts. Real Talk about LGBTQIAP is not just facts.
Okay.
It's conversational. So you don't have to worry that you need a special degree or to understand science or biology. It is conversational, because I wanted anybody, no matter where you're from, what kind of education you have, I wanted anybody and everybody to be able to go in and talk and understand. So it's a conversation with me and the people I interviewed, and even the research. I took it and I tried to find a way to distill it and make this as simple and then expound on the information. So you don't have to feel like it's intimidating, whether
Right.
you're a school teacher or a high school student or a bus driver or a PhD. You can read this book and feel very comfortable with the information and understanding it and consuming it.
Well, the one thing that Dale said, and Harold, I'll let you go ahead, is that you struck on the word intimidating. The intimidating part is not even the book. The intimidating part is the initiation of the conversation,
Right.
and people are so very intimidated on either side to say, am I going to offend you, or do I care about offending you? Do I love you? Whatever the labels and the layers they are, that's always the intimidating part about it, as a whole. So hopefully this will minimize the intimidation, you know what I mean, of them starting the conversation.
Right. And not have to worry about feeling like you're being judged. One of the most important things for me in writing this book is I wanted people to be able to ask questions without feeling like you're being judged for asking the question, or not feeling like, well, why don't you know that? Or why are you asking that? No, ask the question. In a conversation, you have to be able to ask a question, and the other person has to be able to receive it and try to answer the question. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
No, and that's what I was going to say. I love the subtitle says an eye-opening conversation, because that's really what it starts. And for me, there were a lot of things that I learned from the book that I thought I knew that I didn't know. And I think that a lot of people will find that. I think we make a lot of assumptions about things, and we hear things just said, and we take that to be the truth. And, from reading the book and seeing some of the research that you had and some of the stories that you shared really helped for me to see it in things in a different perspective. And so I guess my question is, how do we start having these real conversations in places and spaces that we don't often, like our churches, like our fraternities, sororities, and our schools? How do we begin to initiate these conversations? Because everybody has been or is touched by LGBTQIAP in some form or fashion. And I think the more we understand and the more we're educated, the more comfortable we become.
Absolutely. And that's the reason I wrote the book, because I wanted to start the conversation and to have serious conversation. And so first I would say, of course, I will talk about LGBTQIAP and get in and try to get some understanding yourself. But even if you don't have the book, every day the topic comes up somewhere, somehow. And that's an automatic entry point. If somebody says something that sounds questionable or even hateful, then ask them a question. Well, why did you say that? Or why did you think that? I remember a few years ago when I was writing the book, I was at a family setting, and an elderly person said, you know what? I know how to tell a real woman from a lesbian.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Wow.
Well, my first question is, what is a real woman? But I said, well, how is that? And he said, by the way they cross their legs.
What?
So, we have opportunities to have.
Wow.
Let's not be afraid to have the conversation. And I know we don't want to challenge. I'm not going to try and challenge an elder. But by asking the question, at least we can maybe start talking about things. Or if someone in your family or a friend or a community is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, asexual, or pansexual, and you want to know more, then ask them about, ask them something simple. First of all, are you comfortable? Ask them if they're comfortable having the conversation with you. And people know, when somebody is coming to you with a genuine heart, or if somebody's coming to you to judge you. So if you know, the other person will be able to sense that. And if they are willing to have the conversation, then ask them perhaps, what would you like me to know? Or is there, what am I able to ask you? Because there are some things that people are not comfortable asking.
Right.
And if we have a conversation, in the beginning of the chapter, I quote a woman who is deceased now, but she was an elected official here in Atlanta. And she said, if you ask me a question, she said, I'll answer the question, but you have to be ready and willing to hear the answer.
Yeah.
So a conversation if you're not ready for the answer.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of things that we can do. First of all, just have an open heart and an open mind if you really want to understand and listen to the other person and share the information.
Right. Makes sense. Partner, do you have a question?
Well, no. First of all, I'm just so glad we're having this conversation. And I wish Todd didn't have to leave us. But it's so interesting because I know one of the topics that I looked at was talking about, are gay men more promiscuous? And I think that is a connotation that is out there. And I have always thought or maintained that I don't think gay men are any more promiscuous than heterosexual men are. It's just that we have two people who have gotten the same messaging coming together now, where men are always taught, get as much as you can, spread your seed around, where women are taught, hold on to it. That's
right.
So say that again.
I said, you got to be a good girl.
You got to be a good girl, exactly.
Right.
And in your research, what did you find on that?
Well, absolutely. No one sex is more promiscuous than another. And I think that is part of the trap and the negative speak that a lot of heterosexuals use against homosexual, bisexual, pansexuals to try and make those people seem like there's something wrong or something bad when there's no truth behind the statement.
The truth.
Some people are promiscuous. Some people are not promiscuous.
Right.
The sexuality has nothing to do with it. I mean, we know plenty of heterosexual people who sleep with as many people as often as they can.
My God.
And we know people who are homosexual or bisexual who don't. So it's a personal thing. It's not about the sexuality. It's about the individual. There is nothing to substantiate. And so I would just say that that's a lie.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Because I said that old joke all the time. Women need a reason to have sex. Men just need a place.
Wow. Well,
that's homo sexuality. That's where you have to swing wherever you can swing. Well, place to stay.
We won't go there on this show. I'm telling you that. That's too much of that out there. Anyway, go ahead with your question.
But you know what? And I think, the conversation needs to be had. But I think, to be honest with you, we talked about this off air about allyship and how it is so important, especially within the African American community, to understand how important the LGBTQIAP is to us as a community. Because without them, there wouldn't probably, in other words, wouldn't have been the civil rights movement.
Well, that's true.
And that is to be honest with you. And that's one of the things that, and we talked about, it triggers me a little bit when I hear people talk about there's an agenda that's now being pushed on me to minimize my oppression and say that their oppression is bigger than my oppression. But Tyra, give me the answer to this thing. Why is it that we believe in this rhetoric, and where is this rhetoric coming from? Is it more of a religious thing, or is it more of a factor in our community where we would like to throw away somebody else's right to exist? Or it's just is it of those two factors, or where's that coming from, do you think?
Well, I think it's multifaceted. Part of it is human nature. I mean, if we feel, some people, and I think it is human nature, we feel threatened if someone else is getting attention or if someone else is getting something that we want, then perhaps it lessens what we can get. So in a lot of instances, I think that Black people will say, well, we still need a certain level of civil rights. We haven't reached full equality. And so by talking about other races, or by talking about
wow, yeah,
like,
wow, good
equality, that's taken away from me. If we have to give effort over there, then nobody's paying attention to what I need. But
wow.
That if we are for equality, then we have to fight for equality on all fronts. As a Black woman, yes, I am going to fight for equality for Black people. As a human being, I have to be about equality for all people.
Absolutely.
It may not be as personal to me, but I cannot ignore the fact that other people, based on their sexuality or based on their race or based on their sex or some other aspect, are being discriminated against. So I think that's one aspect. Part of it is that, if you get a piece of the pie, then what's going to be left for me?
Right.
And part of it is the homophobia and the transphobia that we've been taught, and the whole religious piece. So a lot of people will say that, well, there's sin, that it's a sin, and so therefore we shouldn't talk about, they don't deserve the same rights because it's a sin. Well, it's not a sin, and we're humans, and we all should have the same rights, and we should all fight. And by me being an advocate for LGBTQIAP equality does not take away from me being an advocate for equality for Black people or American people or
absolutely
Asian. I can be for all of that, and we all can.
Right, absolutely.
It's not an either or choice that we have to make.
Right. There's enough love to spread around if we utilize that love. At the end of the day, I don't care what level it is. There's enough of it, to spread around. I know Tara's got to wrap up where she's got to go. Go ahead and elaborate on your workshops, Tara, and everything for us real quick that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I also, and this is an extension of the earlier question about the conversations. So I love to have these conversations with you guys. I'm able to I'm invited to colleges and community discussions, like here in Atlanta, the Auburn Avenue Research Library, but to go in and actually have the discussion. So in a lot of cases, people haven't read the book, but we can still have some of the same conversations that are
absolutely
in the book, and to actually have people think about what we've been taught, what our perceptions are of other people. As we talked last week about what really is in the original text of the Bible, and
yes, exactly.
How we are going to handle ourselves in certain situations. So for instance, when I go to colleges and do workshops, we'll do some role playing, and I'll have the students, ask them a question that puts them in a situation. What if you went home for the holidays and your parents said, hey, we need to talk. And your father says, I'm transgender. And
wow.
How do you handle that?
Wow.
Of course, that hits. Wow. It's one thing to talk about it or read about it in the news, but when it's at home, how are you going to handle that?
Wow. Good.
How are you going to handle it when you walk into your dorm room and the person you thought was one sexuality is with someone else that gives you a totally different? How do you handle that? Or if you're in a leadership position on campus, what do you do in certain situations? And that also comes to play in work environments as well. How do you handle your leadership? And how do you handle just interacting with other people? How do you have those conversations? How do you shut down the conversations that are negative and derogatory? So there are a lot of things to talk about, and crafted based on the audience, but it is really to let's start the conversations and then hopefully give them things to think about and think about, well, how will I handle this situation if it comes up? How am I going to talk to my peers or to my staff about these things? What kind of policies do I need to fight for on campus or in the world?
Let me, and if I can wrap this up with you with this one other quick question just came to mind. Can you just elaborate real quick on your studies in Romans chapter 1, and please define for our believing audience that chapter has nothing to do with the conversation we're having right now, and understand that I know what it means, but I'm hearing from another scholar, and in your studies about that. Can you just elaborate and let them know that Romans chapter 1 was not about homosexuality, please? Please.
So now tell me, because I have to look up which one. Can you quote the?
Well, basically, what Paul is saying, it just talks about the engagement of two male individuals. But what he went to Rome at that time, he witnessed this. But what it was men having sex with boys.
Okay. Yeah. And we talked about last week about one of the misuses of the word homosexuality in the way the Bible was translated in English and what we have now equates homosexuality with men having sex with boys, and we know that is not homosexuality. Right, exactly. That is pedophilia. Men having sex with children is pedophilia, and that is not a sexuality. That is a mental. That's considered a mental illness. Homosexuality is not a mental illness. Homosexuality is a sexuality, just like heterosexuality. So, absolutely. Did that answer?
Yeah, it did. I just wanted to reemphasize that particular point. Again, so for the listening audience, sometimes you had to be clear. You had to reemphasize again.
It is about having it can't just be said once. A lot of so much of this information is new. So much of it is unteaching or giving a new scenario, giving a new truth to what we've been taught that is misleading and sometimes just a flat out lie.
Gotcha. So Tyra,
go ahead.
So we're after Tyra leaves us, we're going to continue our discussion among the fellows. But Tyra, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us in this 2-part series of expounding upon real talk. You're welcome to come back at any time. Of course, make this your home. We're probably going to have your guest, just a guest co-host, one of these days. Come on, just have other kind of conversations so we can prick your brain. Okay.
Hey, I got plenty to talk about.
Okay, hey, that's what we want. Okay, so we're gonna bring you back on one of our hot topic shows and just chat, just kind of throw some stuff out there and pull you back in on that regard. All right, but fellas, hey, let's give her a big hug. We thank you so much. And remember, guys, get real talk.
Asking me again to say where.
Yes, please.
Real Talk is available on Amazon.
Yes.
Real Talk about LGBTQ. And if you want to visit my website, taracoit.com. Taracoit, TARACOYT.com. iTunes, Barnes and Noble, and a few other places. If you're Atlanta, it's available in a lot of local bookstores like Karis Books. But if you're not in Atlanta, you can buy it on Amazon or visit my website for some other options.
Definitely. And we'll have our information on the Truth Behind the Truth page as well. So we're promoting that so we can get in touch with her really quickly. All right. Yeah. Tara, we appreciate you.
Facebook, go ahead, sorry. Instagram and LinkedIn and what's the other one?
YouTube.
So absolutely look me up and hopefully we can have conversations elsewhere.
Absolutely. Harold and I are going to work on putting another conference together, and we're going to definitely have you as one of the headliners of that conference. Yes. We need to do that again, Harold. At sometime in the future. All right, darling. We love you so much, and we will be in touch. After this commercial, we'll be back with the guys, and we'll finish up with it. Thank you again, baby. We'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, and we're back. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to The Truth Behind the Truth. Oh my gosh, was that just so an awesome time with Tara.
Yes.
I really appreciate her taking the time out tonight. I know she had a busy schedule and to jump in and be on and deposit some more nuggets with us so that we can furtherly discuss, and get into a little bit more. But we will love to have her back at a different time and being a part of one of our hot topic shows. I know she got a lot of wisdom out there for us. All right. So, Pernell,
go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wish more people knew about the book.
Yes.
Earlier this year, I was having a conversation with a young guy when he was under 30, and he was struggling with his sexuality. Very accomplished, has an advanced degree, and I was so surprised that someone so educated would still be in such a dark place about his sexuality. And he told me he hated being gay. And
wow.
I think that is still an unfortunate reality for so many people who you wouldn't even expect, and because I was very, very surprised by that reality. But as he told me a little bit more about his background, I understood better because his family is Jamaican.
Wow.
But it has really done a number on him,
Wow.
To hate yourself because of your sexuality. And a lot of it just has to do with all of the misinformation that's out there that people have accepted as the truth.
Right. Unfortunately, there are so many, I think, filters that people have to go through, to be able to embrace themselves, and, conditions, and the biggest, I think the biggest problem, and I'm just going to say it, I was going to be kind of nice about it, at the end of the day, but religion has played such a big part in self-identity, and it's unfortunate that it has infected and not affected, but infected, just like a shot, it infected so many people. So it's like a virus that has hit them that they don't really realize to know when the antidote is available for them to cure them from that misconceived idea, because it makes me wonder a lot of times, from Sunday to Sunday, that these people go to these different places of worship, and they hear this message over and over and over again. It's like they go in getting that same shot, of the same bad medicine, and really and not knowing what's going on with them, rather than finding a place of inclusion. There's so many places of worship now that are inclusive, you know what I'm saying, to help you identify with who you are as a person, as being the created creature of our Creator, you know what I mean? And to put yourself in bondage every week, not to being able to see that freedom. I don't get it. Harold and I, kind of, I don't know if Parnell does it, looks at it, but there's this, in this Facebook group I bring up all the time that I think we're all a part of, Harold. And, you see the posts on there from time to time. And, I go through, because I'm hoping that there's liberty for 37,000 Harold guys that are on this particular Facebook page, and they're all mature people. But they are all seriously. They're old, okay? they're old, okay? But unfortunately, they're still stuck in this same perception of life, and they have had a well enough time to find out their authenticity, to find out they are enough. And what do you say, Pernell? And it's not my business. It's not my job to make you comfortable with my life. You know what I'm saying? So but they've all had opportunity for this, and I have a heart for them, because I just don't understand why you have allowed yourself to be so gripped by this bondage. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. I know you have something.
Well, that tells you that would differentiate the male from the men in those situations. Situations, because at the end of the day, the men quality of being a man, at least, is knowing your authenticity, knowing what you bring to the table, knowing that you take full accountability and responsibility for your own life.
Yes.
But the male part of us wants to be part of a group. We want to be part of a culture that put us in a comfortable environment where we don't have to exist as our own individual person.
Very
you know
good.
what I'm saying? I think as especially within the Black LGBT, because I don't know about our white counterparts, and I'm not even trying to put the race factor in, but there is a culture within our portion of the LGBT community where religion is still there. And if it's not there through sermon, it's there through music. Because that's just, you know, be truthful with it. The only time you would see us in a church is playing music.
Right.
And on top of that, directing the choir. I mean, that is just the way it has always been our culture. That, you know, there was even a moment where I was on Instagram page and I saw one of the ladies from the Coded Church. Now, this is an old post, an old video talking about she was tired of sissies, directing the music, directing the choir, and directing doing this and doing that in the church and wearing their flashes. And I said to myself, now that would have told me as a gay Black man that I don't need to be in this situation, knowing that there are people in this unfortunate religion, this environment, this church who are just as crazy, but to sprout this type of rhetoric, I need to separate myself from this. I need to separate, but you have those who still want to be comfortable, want to be accepted, want to feel like, well, I'm not this unless I'm
you're not
this.
accepted, but go ahead.
But that's the mentality of a male. The same with the female. When are there some women that's going to stop spreading this rhetoric from a regular female? It's a mentality that we need to have as individuals. Like I will not accept abuse. I would never accept any type of physical or mental abuse. And as a Black gay man coming from Alabama, I dealt with this all of my life. And if I throw some people on the bus, I'm sorry. But I went to church, I heard that rhetoric. I went to the HBCU, heard the same rhetoric. But I came home and realized that, you know what, darling, even though this is what they were ready for you to be, you know who you are. I don't care what it is that what type of stone people would like to throw at you. You know who you are. It's either we're going to sink or we're going to swim. And I decided to swim. Because I did, you know, it's just that's the way you got to have that mindset. I'm going to swim regardless of what you think about me and what what you assume that I am. I'm going to still keep moving. Absolutely. You know?
And that takes a lot of courage, D. That takes a lot of courage and introspection, just knowing who you are without needing the approval or authorization from other folks. That's some deep self-awareness that you have that unfortunately a lot of people don't have it. You know, they still are seeking outside validation for who they are. And validation from a source that will never validate you.
Exactly.
But you know what, and I'm so sorry, Harold, for cutting you off, but you know what really inspired me? The story of Bayard Rustin. When I went to Alabama State and read his story, I said, you know what? I can't complain. I can't say so much. I can't do, because this man set a tone, a precedence for gay Black males. Even though he was in a situation, in an environment of civil rights movement that would have caused the whole movement to be thrown down into the, you know, into the mine shaft of destruction because of him being gay. That did not stop him. He kept going regardless of what they were saying, what J. Edgar Hoover was saying, or what Abernathy was saying to Martin Luther King. He said, I don't care. I see a dream. He saw the March on Washington. He organized it along with some other things, the LGBT community. He organized that too. The gay rights movement. He organized that. He was part of the Young Communist League movement. But he kept going. And as a Black man in the South, knowing this information, I could not have said, you know what? If he went through all of that, what's my problem?
Wow. Wonderful. Parnell, go ahead.
No, it's very interesting. I mean, Bayard is a hero as well, because it definitely was at that time for him to be an openly gay man was really extraordinary. And there were a lot of people, and for him to have I was like, I will step into the background because I understand people are using me as a wedge in this movement to discredit the movement. So I'll step back. But when it came time to organize the March on Washington, they realized we can't do this without Bayard. You know, he really knows how to make this happen. And he got in there and I think he had like 8 weeks, bam, 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 made sure that that the buses were there, that, you know, that food was there for the marchers, that everything was organized. And it becomes a thing where you have to realize that we as a people cannot afford to cast anybody off to the South.
Right, exactly.
We get through this all together, whether male, female, young, old, college educated, high school dropout, rich to poor, gay, straight, and everything in between and beyond is all part of our community. And it's going to take all of us to uplift one another as a people,
right,
and to spread that out into our country and then the world. Mm-hmm. One of my friends said this years ago. It's like, I just feel like Black people are the consciousness of the planet. We are the first people on the earth. I mean, nobody argues with life beginning in Africa.
Right. Uh-huh.
And that is like, so those original people, that DNA is in us. So
absolutely.
We are the of the world.
Right.
The kind of, I think that's the kind of thing that maybe help explain why we seem so welcoming to others, that when people embrace our culture, we're like, yes, come on in. Mm-hmm. You like the way we sing? If you can sing how we sing, come on, we'll give you your props for that.
Right.
You dance the way we dance, yeah, that's cool with us.
Right.
And where we don't always see that reciprocal thing coming back. So many times, even though people argue we started country music, it became this white thing, and now people are like, that's our music. You can't be singing. It's like going, let the record show.
Okay.
These instruments were by Black people.
Right.
When we talk about jazz, when we talk about the blues and all those things, the only
rock and roll.
These unique music forms were all started by Black people.
I not to interrupt you, I kind of got a little quick download as you were talking, and this, may have to bring the little spiritual part in the coin. But you mentioned about the acceptance of how the African American community generally isn't very inviting. One of the things is that it's very powerful about the African American community. And I'm not saying this to my Caucasian or to separate it in it, but it is what it is, at the end of the day, outside of the ones that are not, our friends of the show and, other, our Caucasian brothers and sisters. However, my point is that our spirituality makes us so inviting. You see what I'm saying? Because we become unawareingly that invitation of how our Creator is, how the creative force of our Creator is so inviting, and the loving aspect that we feel part of the universe and all that. It brings us in. It draws you in. So we become very accepting. We say this is our home. And mostly at the end of the day, we don't really care what you look like coming in the door. Now some of the relatives may go, that's such and such so-and-so. But at the end of the day, we really don't care, at the end of when you come in. I think that the negative forces after you get into the ones that start talking in our ear changes that mode. But generally speaking, we're like, we're very welcoming. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We accept you who you are. Here's the thing, if we're enlightened of who we are.
Right, because I was gonna say we selective on who we want to be selective toward.
Right, exactly.
And we often are very accepting of folks that don't look like us.
Right, exactly.
Versus folks that do look like us. We seem to be a lot more less accepting.
Here's a thought behind it. Do you and we've had discussions on this show. I think a lot of that has to do with tribalism. You know what I mean? Because, and let's face it, in society, we're going to have tribalism. You can look like them, you can be by a different tribe, and I don't want to give a shh about you. At the end of the day, or I don't like the way you do something, or, I'm always on an attack mode. And, so we can pick out those type of, that tribal behavior right now in our collective society. Because if I'm offending you women, I'm sorry. Okay. I typically would put the quote unquote angry Black woman in a different tribe. Okay, because that doesn't represent every Black woman. At the end of the day, it doesn't represent every behavior of every Black woman. You know what I'm saying? That angry Black man, okay, just walk around frowning all the time. To me, that's another tribe. At the end of the day, because whatever that angers you, you have found a way to bond under that anger, and that's the way you live your life. Now, you can come out of that tribe and, and view yourself differently, at the end of the day. So I think a lot of times tribalism is what's inside the culture, and people run to those particular tribes because it's the way they feel in that moment, and that moment becomes a year, an hour, a second, an hour, a year, and a lifetime for some people, at the end of the day.
Well, you want to know what my tribe is?
What's that?
Maya Angelou, I was watching an interview on her. She talked about when she went to Nigeria, when she stayed out there and was a professor out there. There was a language out there called the Sweet language.
Oh.
And you know, and I'm gonna. But the fact is though, in that, you know, when you was talking about, you know, the angry black woman, angry black man, I thought about that. You know, black people always had a culture where we, like y'all mentioned, we have always been inviting. But it's always been inviting in tone of speech, because we're not very direct when we talk. And I know it's sounding random right now, but hang on with me. Okay. We have always been about tone, about loving tones. You ever been to the South? I know you've been seeing my family where we, you know, you're like, you hear my grandma ask you, "Hey, how you doing, baby?" Or "How you doing, honey?" Or "Hey, man, how you doing?" You know, it's the way we invite through tone of speech. Wow, okay. That is part of our culture, which is called deceit language. And I like to say that I'm from that tribe. I have never had, there has never been a portion of me that has adapted to anger. I know people sometimes want to say, well, you know, I don't want to say that has never been my background, where I've always had to be angry, always had to be up on somebody about something. My folks have always been very inviting of other people. So I think you might be right with that. There is a tribe for that, but I'm thankful I'm not part of that tribe. I'm just saying, because that tribe I don't know nothing about. I don't get it, but
all the angry people, the angry black men and the angry black women, I think that there's reason for there's justification for that anger. And I think we should acknowledge that, because I think that a lot of times we just, don't give credence to where that's coming from. Because truth be told, based upon our history here in America, and based upon our history and our present day existence, we got a right to be angry.
Let me submit this to, and I hear what you're saying here completely, but here's the thing. What is it? What is what is it that say mismanaged anger is the worst kind of anger? At the end of the day, so how do we encourage people to manage that anger to move forward, and not stay in a place of being angry? You see what I'm saying? Using that anger for your strength, using that anger to say that maybe I need to encourage somebody to become a politician so that I have somebody else in a place that they can help me get through my disappointments and anger. You see what I'm saying? Because it's one thing to stay locked in it, walk around frown on your face and whatever the case may be. But is that actually changing the narrative?
And that's the thing. It doesn't change the other person, doesn't change the other situation.
Right.
And it's poison to you.
Right.
It really is poison to you.
Right.
At the end of the day, that anger. And so it doesn't benefit you to carry that anger, but we do understand.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's certainly not dismissed, and I think it's just a fact of just wanting to find ways to encourage them to come out of that and create, because here's the thing, you have the ability to create something different. You know what I'm saying? You have the ability to go into every day creating a different mindset, speaking to somebody different, encouraging a child, whatever that is, making them aware. I mean, of course.
But in other words, where's our black therapist though? Where are our black therapists?
But here's the thing, typically in the community, all right, as we both know that, African American people don't believe in therapy.
Well,
what I'm saying? They don't believe in therapy. At the end of the day, I mean,
we go to church for everything. We go to church for counseling.
Harold, I wasn't going to go there.
We think the church is a financial advisor, a therapist, a psychiatrist, a physician, and
there's got to be a black therapist somewhere.
I'm sure they're out there, but
it's just the fact that needs to be that PTSD of oppression is like, it's still in us. We need therapy pushed in our community, because like you say, we're going to still have all these black angry women, black angry men, but like you say, they don't know how to they don't know where to push their anger in a positive situation.
Absolutely.
And I think therapy is needed. I mean, the church has always been there, but listen, you can sing and pray all day, but you're going to still walk out that church feeling some type of way. Right. I don't care how long you pray. It's just at the end of the day, you need somebody to speak life into you.
Better say it.
And that's one thing some pastors still don't do. They don't speak life. The music don't speak life.
Okay.
I remember so many times going to church when I used to go to church, and I would leave the church just feeling so good, feeling so high. By the time I got out of the parking lot, I was feeling my old self. I mean, the same thoughts, because it was like a shot, but it was not anything that was life shifting. My mindset had not changed,
Mhm.
and I would go every week, and I would get that high, and I would leave. By the time I got out the parking lot, I was all the old stuff,
Uh-huh.
came back because I think part of it, there was no real education on how to shift your mindset and how do you change your consciousness and shift your consciousness. There was just all these rituals we went to. We start off with the music, pastor, have their little scripture of the day and had a little word, and they talk about this. But there was nothing that was life shifting. It was nothing that really gave me any tools to help change my mindset. Outside of saying prayer and then laying hands on people. And I still woke up and I was still feeling the same way. I'm like,
okay,
what happened?
But songs, I'm so sorry, but
something was wrong with me.
Good.
But I'm gonna make this brief. Songs like "God Will Take Care" and "Hold On to God's Unchanging Hand" and "The Old Rugged Cross." You can't have that thing in your mind constantly, and you're going through trauma.
Right.
It's like, what is that supposed to help me deal with? Right. I know there's an old rugged cross that Jesus had to drag up that hill to save me of my sins, but that's not really helping my situation right now. I'm just saying.
I know, partner, you had a point that you were going to make, and I got something that I want to say. Go ahead. What's your point?
Go ahead, partner. I'm so sorry.
Well, no. It's good because it's the anger thing. It's like that James Baldwin quote. To be relatively conscious and Black in America is to be in a state of rage almost all the time.
Wow.
So a lot of it, that rage is there when we see the injustice that is going on, and that rage is just always kind of boiling up there. But I think the angry thing is coming for people who don't know how to channel it, who don't know how to
right. Exactly.
When I speak up for Black people, I'm not speaking from a place of anger towards white people or racism, all that stuff. I'm speaking from a place of love for Black people. And my phone is going to die on me if I drop out here. So I think a lot of times they focus on the anger. They want to be angry and they want to punish and want to get back at somebody. It's like the best way to do that is to focus our energy on uplifting other Black people.
That's true.
Amen.
As opposed to trying to be so intent on destroying white supremacy and destroying that. Like, I'm going to focus on uplifting Black people. I'm going to purchase everything that I can from Black-owned businesses. I am going to support Black women. I am going to support Black men. I'm going to support Black youth. I'm going to support Black LGBTQIAP people. That is how we channel that anger into a positive force, as opposed to being destructive and so bent on dismantling. As they say, you can't take down the master's house by using the master's tool. Here's the best way to do that. Focus on loving and supporting each other. Support our youth, give them that education, let them know, like, I'm here for you, I see you. That's why when I see other Black people that I don't know on the street, you give the brother nod of the head or acknowledgement, I see you, brother, I see your sister, like, hey, good morning, brother, how you doing? Hey, good morning, sister, how you doing? That's how we change the narrative. Like, we know amongst ourselves, we are among ourselves, we're safe, that this is home. Watching that series, High on the Hog, watching that brother go back to Africa, and he's in Benin and just breaks down in tears because he felt like,
we watched that.
We did watch that. Yeah, I thought about that.
By me coming back, I feel like I've brought them back home. That feeling that so many Black people say when they go back to Africa, they feel like, I felt like I'm home. Even though I've never set foot on this continent before, the minute I got there, I feel home. And the brothers and sisters are there. It's like, welcome home, brother. Welcome home, sister. This is your home. He kept saying, this is your home. He said, no, stop saying this is our home. This is your home too. You are home. Welcome home. Feeling that connection, I think, will also help us to come from that positive, righteous anger, as opposed to that self-destructive anger that can take us down a dark path, as opposed to one that's enlightening and uplifting.
There was a part in that documentary where the guy, one of the tribesmen, was explaining the slave trade and how one of the tribes was helping the Europeans out to spend the land of the tribe. In order to do that was to remove certain tribes and put them into slavery. And I thought that was the most interesting part of that documentary, how he explained to the guy why they did what they did. Was it right? It wasn't right, but it was a business.
Mhm.
But and it was a business on them to, in order for one tribe to expand, they had to remove the other. And I thought about that. I said, wow. And we talked about tribes.
Mhm, mhm.
It's just the fact that, at the end of the day, those stories need to be taught. And the one thing about the Black LGBT, I want to say this too as well. When it boils down to allyship within our community, we need to tell the truth about why it is so important for all of us to stick together, regardless of what is going on, regardless of sexuality or whatever you want to be in this life. We must stick together because it's so, in our history, we were all at one point all we had. Without the Harlem Renaissance, which was made up of the gay African-American community,
Absolutely.
all these great writers, these sculptors, these
Absolutely.
musicians, these playwrights, they taught us about our Africanness. They brought back Afrocentrism. I'm sorry, my words are all over the place.
No, you're good. You're good.
But they brought that with them. Zora Neale Hurston, the lady that wrote Our Eyes Were Watching God,
Okay.
lesbian, but brought the history of Florida to the mainstream.
Well,
and I'm just saying, but that is why I feel like at the end of the day, we need to stop trying to divide. We need to stop this infighting and dividing. Oh, well, whose oppression is bigger than my oppression? It's just, it needs to stop.
Well, no, I totally. I know you got a point, Harold, and we'll wrap it up. I just want to say that in all of what you're saying, what we're talking about tonight, and how this always comes back to the major point. Major point is that the involvement of gay people have been a part of the movement of humanity.
Yes.
In such major ways. I mean, because we can sit here and label about everything, and you're speaking about the Harlem Renaissance and what one of my favorite author, a poet,
Langston
Hughes. Okay, and just the involvement, how influential that he was, and like you mentioned James Baldwin and all the other ones, and most people, the heterosexual community doesn't realize that the true involvement of these people in society, as it was, because they could not bring their personal preferences to the light. But in this day and age, when you can express your personal preferences to life, it should be celebrated even more. Because you're on a platform to be able to more. And as Tara started out the show earlier, it's not about who's sleeping with who, doing whatever. It's not your business. It's not your business. And why should a person be categorized because of what you think they do when their door closes at the end of the day? Do you broadcast heterosexual? Do you broadcast when you're getting ready to go do what you do? Do you call up your girlfriend on the phone, say he getting ready to do this to me, girl? Okay. I'm just being true, But men, do you get on the phone and say, "Oh man, I'm about to do this to her," or whatever? You get, what I'm saying? So why do you expect that? You expect that type of behavior coming out of the gay community? I don't understand. Get over it. But anyway, go ahead, Harold.
Well, I think this is going to sound very cliche, but I think it all starts and ends with love. When we love ourselves, we have the capacity to love others, and we don't see them as a threat when we truly love ourselves.
Absolutely. And hey, the bottom line is love, truly finding that inner peace with yourself, loving yourself. When you do that, like our motto of the show, when you find who you are, you know that you are authentic. Guys, you should be honestly, listening on, you should be pressing for your authenticity. Okay, every day. Press for your authenticity. Then you don't have time to be worried about who gay and who's sleeping with and whatever. You don't have time because you're working on you. And you're working on your authenticity, at the end of the day. And then you approach it all, well, as we say, knowing that you are enough, and minding your own business, like Parnell says. It's not my business. It's, I put it together, all right? But anyway, we have had a wonderful night, okay? I mean, once again, here on The Truth Behind the Truth, we love you guys for taking the time out every week to spend with us. And those of you that watch us, throughout the week, and we appreciate your likes and how the numbers are going up and all that you take the time to view us, even though you may not make it live, but you get the chance to see the other version of it. But you're spreading the word. Yes. And like I said, also, we're getting ready to start setting up ourselves for podcasting. So the shows that you'll be able to hear, you'll be able to get it on your phone, being at the gym. Now the gym's open, man, they're going to podcast us at the gym while they run it. Okay.
That will be something.
So we're trying to be on all media for you guys,
Yes,
at the end of the day, so that you can be enriched and your life can be enriched, as we all want to do. It's to help humanity find the beauty of authenticity. That is our mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I know Parnell was on the road. He had to, unfortunately, he said his phone was going to drop off, with us tonight, but he will be back with us next week. He's on the road doing some big thing down in Palm Springs in the heat. Harold, we love you. We'll see you in a minute.
Yes.
Other than that, guys, thank you for tuning in to Truth Behind the Truth.
Yes.
It has been an awesome night. Once again, thank Tara Cole for being with us, again on the night, elaborating. And next week, we got our pastor, our friend pastor, Bishop Jim Swilly will be with us expounding some great books, all right, as we continue in the Writer's Page series. Y'all have a powerful night. Thanks again for tuning into the what? The Truth Behind the Truth. Thank you, guys. Good night.